Hello everyone, welcome to Intellipaat. So today in this session, we will be talking about Kotlin versus Flutter. Now Kotlin and Flutter both are cross-platform development programming language. Now when I say cross-platform development programming language, it means it allows developers to use one code to develop an app for multiple platforms, right? But before we start with the session, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you never miss on our upcoming videos. Now let's start with the session.
So in this comparison video between Kotlin and Flutter, let's start out by checking a quick introduction to what Kotlin is. Well, as you might already know, Kotlin is actually a multi-platform which was developed by this company called JetBrains. They're very familiar and they're very famous in the world of programming as well. So Kotlin was a solution as a programming language basically which could have the ability to compile Java virtual machine bytecode, JavaScript code and even native binary codes as well. So it's not just one programming language here, but it's an entire platform which can be used in development of applications, as you'll see in this comparison video. A couple of things you need to know about Kotlin is that one is it's very easy to use and it's highly efficient in terms of doing what it does as well, because at the end of the day, whenever you're working with any sort of development, application development or web application development for any mobile usages or any mobile applications, across a variety of platforms, these are some things which you'll really need. Efficiency is something you will look at because it matters that much. By interoperable, basically what we mean is that it can work across multiple platforms as well. Tool friendly, of course. If you're a beginner or if you're an intermediate user who's willing to start out with Kotlin, it is very easy and it will help you get started pretty quick as well. So when would you use Kotlin? So Kotlin is best fit, if you're developing an application which will require a good amount of debugging, it will require a good amount of testing in general. And you'll be preferring to use Kotlin, of course, if you have a requirement of having high readability in terms of syntax as well. So if you want it to be very easily understood as soon as you look at it, this syntax in Kotlin is the way to go. And whenever you have to develop any new features, integrating this into an already existing architecture or integrating these features is done very seamlessly whenever you make use of Kotlin as well. So this is what makes Kotlin what it is. Now coming to what Flutter actually is. See, Flutter again is an open source framework. Both of these, Flutter and Kotlin we're talking about, both of these are open source, but Flutter is actually a framework, that is used for development. So be it Android development, be it WebOS, be it iOS or any desktop based application development as well. So Flutter is this framework which will provide the foundation on which you can work as well. So the main things we would talk about whenever Flutter is in picture or Flutter is in center stage is its usage with Google Firebase. So whenever you work with anything, your entire backend can be worked on by making use of Google Firebase, because this is again a very big advantage in terms of performance, in terms of helping you store your data better and using it in a better way as well. And Flutter is very customizable. It is amazing to work with. It's gaining a lot of traction because of its reload performance, its dynamic nature and its ability to be put into building MVPs. So when I say MVPs, what I mean is minimum viable products, get the maximum done in a minimum amount of time. So that's what MVPs actually are. And Flutter is very, very good at helping you make, quick and nasty changes to the code and seeing if your changes worked or not. You can implement new features and integrate new features. So you can implement, test and in fact even integrate new features and test it right then and there. So the dynamism that Flutter brings to the picture, this is where it pretty much shines as well. So in this comparison between Kotlin and Flutter, we can check out a lot of points here. And the first point I'd like to discuss about is the user experience. Because when you use Kotlin is all about making use of all the local libraries that you have in your machine. So let's say you already have a lot of libraries that you want to use with an application to basically develop something. So Kotlin will give you this ability to make sure that you can use all your local libraries, right? So with Flutter, unlike Kotlin, it's not a programming language, it's an entire software development toolkit. So this will give you all the tools that you require, all the tips and tricks. Of course, everything as an entire framework is given to you, through which you can basically go on to build a user experience and build a good user interface without having to put much effort as well. So at the end of the day, if you have to compare it with respect to user experience, I think Flutter might win this round because it's an entire toolkit rather than just a programming language. Coming to point number 2, it's performance. So again, with respect to performance, I believe Flutter might have the edge over Kotlin, and here is why. Because with Kotlin, it's built in a way where it has the ability to achieve closeness whenever you talk about using configurations to define your application, or even configurations which guide the functionality of a program. With Flutter, it's very different. So it has this ability called as hot reload, and hot reload it's an amazing thing because if you're doing any changes to the backend and you want to see it being reflected immediately onto your front end, with hot reload you can do that. So you can do some changes into the backend and immediately see those changes in the front end, and you really don't have to recompile it, work with it again, and do all of that. So this dynamic nature of Flutter again, gives it the edge over Kotlin in my opinion. And coming to the third important point is popularity. So this is very important to discuss because you need to understand what the world is using. In case if you're looking to build a career in Kotlin or Flutter, or you want to understand the general consensus of where they stand. So I can tell you that with respect to Kotlin, there's somewhere around 4,000 clients in the world, and they have 33,000 stars and a lot of pulls forks on GitHub. And it's of course popular. It's pretty much popular among Googlers as well. And Flutter on the other hand is pretty similar. So it has a lot more clients at 13,000, and eventually it has more stars as well with 91,000 stars. Flutter is aiming, in my opinion, to be one of the most progressive, application building platform out there today. So of course, at the end of this comparison, you will understand the advantages of Kotlin and Flutter as well. But in terms of rapid progress and exponentially gaining popularity, I think both Kotlin and Flutter are there. But due to the extra features that Flutter provides as an SDK, I think it has taken a bit of advantage out here. Now with point number 4, we can discuss the support for testing, because whenever you're developing any sort of application, testing becomes equally important as development and design. And Kotlin is known for its ability to unit test really well. If it's especially Android applications, anywhere across the world, you ask an Android developer, and even if they've moved from Java to Kotlin, they'll still stand for Kotlin and say that it's pretty efficient to be used in the world of testing, and it offers pretty good results as well. With Flutter, it's a bit different. It gives you a lot more tools than Kotlin in general, and there's good documentation to these tools provided as well, and it works with Firebase, so Google documentation is always top notch. In terms of direct comparison for testing in between Kotlin and Flutter, Kotlin will take the stand because even the documentation and the SDK aspect of Flutter is good, the actual implementation comes through Kotlin. And with that, we can check out point number 5. Point number 5 talks about integration. So when we talk about having an already existing architecture in our company, or having an already existing framework such as Android, iOS, CarOS, or whatever it is, we'd want to use that structure to build it rather than have something completely start from scratch, right? Well, Kotlin will give you the platform it's required to basically use your own local structure, use your own local libraries, and use all the tools, and eventually bring it together to Kotlin and make sure it works. With Flutter again will do all of this, and it'll give you all of these methodologies where you can really speed up your development when it comes to iOS and in fact even Android development as well. So in this round, there's no clear winner, because again, if the concept is about making use of local architecture, local structures and libraries, Kotlin will win. But then if you want more effective methodologies which will basically help you create new structures, then Flutter takes the stand. So point number 6 deals with platform support. So with platform support, what we're trying to showcase is what it's used and where the use cases are mostly being done when an application rolls out of Kotlin or Flutter. So Kotlin will win this round because it can be used for Android, iOS, smartwatch TV OS, Android Auto, and much more. So basically, you'll have a lot more support where you can develop use cases for these domains. Flutter, of course, both of these are cross-compatible, but then Flutter, whenever you talk about it, it really does not focus on providing provisions for operating systems such as tvOS, Android Auto, or Apple's CarOS. So when you think about extensibility and when you think about having a little spread out for its use cases, Kotlin will win this round because it supports that many new operating systems as well. With this, we can come to point number 7. With point number 7, we'll talk about programming languages. Now, Kotlin revolves around the world of making use of Java virtual machine code. It has the ability to compile JavaScript and native binary code as well. So this flexibility will ensure that developers can go on to work with understanding and implementing logic and spending time there rather than sticking to just one programming language, sticking to just one programming methodology to write their programs. With Flutter, now Flutter is built around Dart. Again, Dart is another programming language which was put out by Google, and Dart is pretty much similar in terms of syntax of the C programming language, to be honest. So it's pretty easy to get started with. It works really well, and as you might have already guessed, it is compatible with a lot of other libraries, with a lot of other methodologies which you can use eventually, as and when you're adding dynamic features into your application as well. So if it's programming languages, again, there is no clear winner because it depends on your preference in what programming language you need to write and how you go on to use these programming languages to develop the application as well. So with that, we can check out the next point, which is, I'm sure you'll have this question saying, which one is easier to learn, right? So Kotlin is statically typed. So basically by statically typed, what we mean is that, all the data types have to be compiled before they can be executed, right? So the dynamic nature of it is not present in Kotlin. And this is a disadvantage in terms of how complex you can use the applications extend to, but it makes it very simple for beginners to grasp and learn quickly. Now Flutter, as I mentioned in the previous point, it uses Dart as its primary programming language. With Dart, it's very good. One, because it has amazing readability in terms of its syntax, is easy to understand. It's a great platform. It's one of the number one platforms now to make use for Android development, iOS development, and of course, since it's from Google, Google can be seen trickling down in Kotlin and Flutter as well. So the documentation for both of these is going to be amazing at the end of the day. So with this, if you have a question saying which is the ultimate framework, that if I have to pick one, which would I go for? That's a little difficult to answer because there is no ultimate tool when we're comparing Kotlin and Flutter, because Kotlin is, on its way to become the number one framework. As companies like Google, they've become Kotlin centered or Kotlin oriented, if you will. So they're basing all of their work structure, they're basing all of their architectures around Kotlin, in fact. So when Kotlin is getting this amount of attention from a giant such as Google, there's no doubt that it's going to become the number one framework and the programming language to work with as well. Now Flutter, again, it was created by Google itself. It's coming up really well. It has exponential gain in the market, as we saw in the comparison of people using it in GitHub. And of course, since it's by Google, you will have to know that there is many new features coming, many new integrations coming, and it'll be pretty much future proof as well, because there have never been projects by Google which have been dropped out midway or have less functionality as time progresses. So both in terms of Kotlin and Flutter, they're amazing frameworks and SDKs to use with, and at the end of the day, if you want to build a career in one of these, any one of these is really good to go on to use. But then to tell you to just use one will not do justice. It's like an ice cream flavor. I might like blackcurrant or vanilla, and you might be a fan of chocolate and you might not like vanilla. So the best way to go about it is to try both. Try using Kotlin, try using Flutter, and eventually as you progress in the field of application development, your maturity will guide you and your exposure in this field will basically give you the understanding of which is a better fit for you. So with that, you've come to the end of this comparison. If you have any more points that you want to add, do head to the comment section and let us know.